AngularJS. AngularJS is a structural framework for dynamic web applications. AngularJS is a structural framework for dynamic web applications. Okay, structural framework for dynamic web applications. So dynamic web application means every each and every content should uh, read from the database only. Okay, not manually. So in AngularJS, okay, uh, so use HTML as a template template language, and HTML extend HTML syntax to express your components clearly. Okay, so the main advantage is in AngularJS we can use HTML as a template language, so that we don't need to create every component multiple times. Okay, once you create the component, you can use that component multiple times. Okay, so we need to create like a templates. Okay, suppose uh, if you want to display uh, some template in multiple pages, you can create that particular part in one template, and you can use that template in multiple pages. So first of all, you want to know about library and framework. Library, framework. Okay, AngularJS is a structural framework, right? So what is library? So library is a collection of functions which are useful when writing web applications. When writing web applications. So framework means a particular implementation of a web application. A particular implementation of a web application. Web application. Nothing but a framework. The development environment is totally different. Okay, so the main features of AngularJS is features of AngularJS. First one, data binding. Second one, so group of HTML templates, group of HTML into reusable components. reusable components, support for forms and form validations, forms and form validations. Fourth one, attaching new behavior to DOM elements. So DOM elements. So next, fifth one, DOM control structures. DOM DOM control structure for repeating, showing, and hiding elements, DOM elements. Okay, DOM elements. So these are the main features of AngularJS. Next, fifth one, it supports MVC, and seventh one, um, filters. Eighth one, custom custom directives. Custom directives. Okay, these are the main important features. So most of the things, few words commonly we use in AngularJS: template, template, HTML with additional markup. Template means HTML with additional markup. Okay, so I will explain how to create the templates. And the second one, directives. Okay, directives. So extended HTML with custom attributes. Extended HTML with custom attributes, and elements. Okay, so using these directives we can create custom elements and custom attributes also. Next, model. So data shown to the user, in the view, and with which the user interacts. user interacts. Next, fourth one, scope, context, where the model is stored, where the model is stored, so that controllers, directives, and expressions can access it. So scope means that is a context. So context nothing but that is the uh, data model. Okay, so actually where the data is stored. So that scope controllers directives can access. Controllers directives can access it. Next, fifth one, filters. So formats the value of expression for display to the user. Formats the value display to the user. Nothing but um, formats the value of an expression for display to the user. Next, view. So what the user nothing but user interface. View nothing but user interface. User interface. Next, controllers. Controller. So controller means where the business logic is written in our project. The business logic behind view. Okay, business logic behind view. So this is the mediator between view and model. Model means database. Okay, and view is the user interface. The controller interact with the database and get the data from the database and give the result to the view. Okay, next, dependency injection. Dependency injection. So creates and write objects and functions. Functions. So using this dependency injection. So module. So this is the container for the different parts of the application. This is the container container for the different parts of an application like a controllers services, factories. Okay, so you can using this module we can implement this controllers, services, factories, and filters. Okay, number of things we can implement. Next, service. So reusable business logic independent of use. Reusable business logic independent independent of use. Okay, so these are the main uh, few words commonly we use in AngularJS. So this is the introduction of AngularJS. So once we go to the okay, see here. So this is the document which I have prepared in AngularJS. Okay, AngularJS concepts. I have prepared this document. So I have prepared this document for the AngularJS. So AngularJS is a structural framework for dynamic web applications. So let's you use HTML as our template language, and let's extend HTML syntax to express our applications components clearly. So these are the main features of AngularJS. Supports MVC framework for declarative user interface and data models, custom directives, filters, services, factories, and unit testing. Okay, so I will explain all these things. Okay, in coming later classes. So once you want to implement AngularJS application, so compulsory we need to download AngularJS library. Okay, so go to this website angularjs.org. Okay, so download AngularJS. So you can download library. You can download AngularJS library as a zip file. Okay, as a zip file. Otherwise, you can download minified file or uncompressed file. Okay, always you download minified file only. Okay, that is production version. So create an HTML form. Okay, so use CDN from Google APIs like below. Okay, this is the CDN file. So copy this one. In body, use script tag and source attribute. Okay, AngularJS library and close this script. Okay, so we have to use this library like this. And after that, module. So this is the heart of the application. So without module, we can't do anything in AngularJS application. Okay, so if you want to implement other parts of application like controllers, services, directives, filters, anything. So any part of the application. Okay, if you want to implement, you need module. So compulsory, you need module. So without module, you cannot implement remaining parts of the application. So this is the container for the different parts of our application. Okay, controllers, services, filters, directives, okay, and extra number of things is there. Angular apps does, don't have main method. So like C Sharp, okay, Java, so we don't have main method. Okay, so module is the main method. Module is the main method in AngularJS to run the AngularJS application. Okay, instead modules declaratively specify how an application should be bootstrapped. So the declarative process is easier to understand. You can package code as reusable modules. Okay, once you create module, okay, so you can save that module for the different applications also. You can use that module in different applications. Okay, like reusable module. So the module can be loaded in any order. Okay, you can write code in any order. Okay, so first you want to implement controllers. Okay, you can implement. Otherwise, you want to implement services, you can implement. So there is no matter. Okay, which one you want to, you have to implement. Okay, so in any order you can write the code. Unit test only have to load relevant modules, which keeps them fast. So Angular prefixes names of public objects with a single dollar and names of private objects with a double dollar. Okay, in AngularJS, public objects names start with a single dollar and a private objects names start with a double dollar. Okay, that is predefined objects. Okay, public objects and private objects in AngularJS. Next one, directives. So once you create module for the application, okay, next we can use these directives to implement AngularJS application. So AngularJS directives are extended HTML attributes with the prefix ng. Okay, so this is the main method for the AngularJS application. Okay, to bootstrap the application, to run the application. Okay, So, but AngularJS directives are external HTML attributes. So these directives are external HTML attributes. Okay, with the prefix ng. Okay, in HTML we don't have attributes like this. Okay, ng app, ng controller, ng model. Okay, these are attributes. In HTML we don't have these attributes, but in AngularJS all these are attributes, nothing but directives. Okay, this is the core collection of directives you would use in your template code to build AngularJS applications. So the ng app, so this is the first directive of AngularJS application. Okay, must and should you have to use to run the application in AngularJS. Okay, use this directive to auto bootstrap an application. So this is interact with the module. Okay, based on this ng app we can create module. Okay, and we can run the application in AngularJS. Okay, automatically run the application, this ng app directive. The ng app directive designates root element of the application and it's typically placed near the root element of the page. So we can declare this ng app directive in body section, in body element or HTML tag, in body tag or in HTML tag. So it defines AngularJS application. Okay, this is our sample application, sample form AngularJS. So we can declare ng app directive here on in HTML tag. Okay, here we can declare ng app. Otherwise, you can declare that in body tag also. Okay, if you define this ng app directive in HTML tag, the entire application, okay, with the total HTML tag, the total application with the header section and body section is under the AngularJS application control. Okay, if we define this ng app directive in body tag, so this part only, okay, under the AngularJS application control. Okay, so anywhere you can declare. So but in real-time applications always they declare the AngularJS application here only. Okay, in HTML tag. Okay, this is the AngularJS application ng app directive. Next, ng controller. Okay, these are all attributes. Okay, you can observe this. This is the attribute with the prefix ng, right? So this is for every directive prefix is ng. Okay, controller also prefix ng. So this is one attribute, extended HTML attributes with prefix ng. So we can define this ng controller directive, attach a controller class to the view. The ng controller directive defines the application controller. A controller is a JavaScript object created by the standard JavaScript object constructor. Okay, the mainly uses of this controller. So we can interact with the database, okay, using controller. and we can display the data in the view by using this controller. And after that, model. The ng model directive binds the value of HTML controls. So for example, if you want to, you have a registration page, okay? So you can enter the data, first name, last name, date of birth, okay? So like this information, you can enter and submit. You can click on submit button. So the data need to store in database, okay? So to store the data in the text box values in the database using AngularJS, okay, we need to bind the text box values, okay, the HTML controls values we need to bind, okay, and send that values to the controllers. The controller is sent to the model. The ng model directive binds the value of HTML controls. So for example, remove this controller, input type equal to text box, ng model, name is the variable, okay, observe this, name is the variable, placeholder equal to enter your name, okay. So the text box value, okay, which you have to type in this text box, okay, which one, uh, if you enter any text in this text box, the text is stored in name variable, okay, using ng module. The ng module directive binds the value of HTML controls, okay. The text box value stored in name variable. So this is the variable, scope variable, okay. So keep in mind these variables called scope variables. So run this example. So only text box is there, okay, and we entered one sample content in the text box, okay. So but we don't know the text box value is storing or not. So we can use this ng bind directive, okay. Ng bind directive tells the Angular to replace the text content of the specified HTML element with the value. For example, take here one span. For span, ng bind equal to name, okay. The text will be displayed in span, okay. The text will be displayed in span what you type in this text box, okay, because the data, the text is stored in name variable. The name variable, this is the scope variable, this variable is affected here also, so that's why the value is displayed in span, okay, what you are typing here, okay. This is the ng model and ng bind directive. ng model directive binds the value of HTML controls. Okay, so create the variable and assign that variable, assign the values into that variable, and bind directive binds the scope variable values, okay, display to the user. Next, ng click. So ng click nothing but click event in JavaScript. Okay, on click event. So when you click on the button, you want to display some content in paragraph. Okay, you can use this ng click directive to interact with the controller and display data in paragraph. The ng click directive allows you to specify custom behavior when an element is clicked. So create one sample ng click. So remove this. Type equal to button. Value equal to display sample content. Okay, here we can use ng click directive. So this is nothing but on click event in JavaScript. So now we have to implement. So when you want to export function, okay, so when you click on the button, you want to export functions. So in that scenario, compulsory we need to uh, implement controllers, okay, and create the module for the application also, equal to my app. Okay, so my app is the application name. Okay, entire AngularJS application name is my app. So you can use any name here. In body tag, ng controller equal to my controller. So now we can create module for the application by using var keyword my app equal to angular dot module my app. Okay, so this is the declaration of AngularJS module. Next, my app dot controller scope okay, so this is the implementation of controller. Okay, so we we define the controller here, and here implementation of controller. So when you click on the button, you want to export this function, right? To export this function, compulsory we need controller implementation. Okay, in controller implementation we used dollar scope. Okay, this is public object. Okay, Angular prefix names of public objects with a single dollar, and private objects names start with a double dollar, right? So this is public object. So this name is started with a single dollar. So this is the scope variable. So using this scope variable, access we can access scope functions and scope variables in the view. Okay, so in the view. So using this scope variable, we can access scope functions and scope variables in the controller. So without scope, we cannot access this function name and other scope variable names. For example, use ng bind directive equal to my content. Okay, so this is the variable. My content is the variable. So when you click on the button, so this function is executed by using scope. Okay, next scope dot my content equal to this is my sample paragraph content. So now run this example. Only button is displaying. When you click on this button, paragraph content is displayed from controller. Okay, so here only one button and a paragraph is there. Okay, we are binding the paragraph content from the controller. Okay, by using ng bind directive. So ng bind directive binds the value, okay, from the source. Ng module directive binds the value of HTML controls. Okay, so when you click on the button, this function is executed. So this function is executed using scope variable. Okay, scope public object. So this object call the functions and variables, scope functions and scope variables in the view. Next, ng dbl click. So ng dbl click directive nothing but on dbl click event in JavaScript. Okay, click event and on click event is there. ng dbl click directive allows you to specify custom behavior on a double click event. So here in this example, we can use ng click instead of ng click dbl. Okay, use dbl ng dbl click. So run this example. When you single click, paragraph content is not displaying. Okay, double click this, content is displaying.